If you haven't watched the Netflix documentary, he is much maligned for a situation that.
Oh,
For sure.
that ain't cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just thanks for making us all bring it back to feeling
Yeah,
bad
no,
for
now I
Netflix.
feel guilty.
If you haven't watched Netflix lately, then
That's what you need. Yeah, less prayer time, more Netflix.
That's what you've been promoting.
That's what you're all about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm on
Guys
the
are
Catholic
known
school
for-
circuit, just promoting that as well. Yeah, exactly.
you got some downtime. I got a documentary. Do I
thi-
sound Italian?
Nailed it.
Yes, sir, BeatiDudes. This is Jeff Shufflebein coming to you live in tape on person for the BeatiDudes, a show for Christian men where we're walking arm in arm, living our Catholic faith authentically with love for Jesus Christ in the Trinity and for all things in the Eucharist for eternity.
Amen.
Preach, brother.
Yes, sir.
I am joined by Nick Besner
That's me.
and Paul Kolker.
And I am he.
Brother, you dressed up for the show.
Yeah,
Special
well,
guest today.
that's it. Yeah, that was why.
Brother, you have a pocket square
Oh, yeah.
triangle.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know what you call it, but I just threw one in.
I call it fancy.
This
Thank you.
This is the Dr. Phil uniform.
Pretty much, yeah. This is how I warm up the crowd for Dr. Phil, so I came straight over from
You
that.
stay warmed up while you're warming them up.
That's it.
Ladies and gentlemen, do I look good today? Dr. Phil's going to be out here shortly. Speaking of looking good today, we have a special guest. We're going to jump right in. Straight from, I think you live in Chicago.
Yep.
Correct, confirmed.
Alessandro DiSanto.
Excited to be here.
That's a lot of,
Yeah.
that's got a good alliteration to it. What's-
Alessandro Antonio DiSanto.
Alessandro de...
Alessandro Antonio DiSanto.
Good luck,
Molto
Jeff
bene, molto
Shufflebein.
bene. Yeah.
Wait, were you born in Chicago?
No, I was born in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, but my mom was
Mm.
born and raised in Italy, and my grandparents moved in when I was born, never learned English, so grew up in a very Italian-American household.
Molto bene, parli l'italiano.
Your grandparents never learned English.
Correct.
Oh my goodness, what a blessing.
Legit.
Very much so.
And what was it like at dinner?
Fun and full. Fun and full.
Loud.
Sounds like the BeatiDudes.
Yes, my dad's family's
you
also
Italian?
Italian, two generations back, and within a couple miles, both sides of the family, lots of cousins, aunts and uncles. My mom, aunts and uncles ran pizza shops, big garden, homemade Italian wine, got all the things. So it was a lot
Homemade
of fun.
Italian wine. Alessandro, before we go any further, college football season is upon us. And I wish we were recording this a week ago because the start of the season for the Texas A&M Fighting Aggies was against a little school that doesn't even belong to a conference called the Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
All we have is Our Lady, and she was enough. That's all I got.
I got that stupid meme, the real 12th man, and it's Jesus. And I'm like, come on. I can't, you can't even get mad because you're like, Jesus is cool.
Yeah.
Our Lady's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we lost the game.
Sure.
Yeah, Nick was there, though. What'd you do for us, Nick? Did you yell loud
We had a
enough?
50-50 shot. I gave it my all.
Now, because I feel like you're coming out. Do you like football?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I saw pictures of you at the Super Bowl. That's another thing. We'll talk about that in a minute. But
Wow.
I wasn't at the Super Bowl looking at pictures of you. I saw that you were there at it.
Yeah.
I just got to say
less
this.
creepy.
Like,
I appreciate
Alessandro, we were chatting a bit before the show, and I was just like, man, yeah, I think if I wasn't born into a German family, I would have chosen like if I could choose, like Italian seems like.
Well, my dad would always remind me that there's two types of people in this world: Italians and those that want to be Italians.
See, there you go. I mean, yeah.
There it is.
What a TBD question. Where do you wish you were from, if not from where you were from?
Yeah. Italy.
There you
Italy?
go.
I got it.
You got one?
Yeah. Liechtenstein.
Ooh. And because
I don't know. It'd just be crazy to be from like the smallest country in the world.
you can put weird like in everything that you say.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you have a pretty strong passport as well. You got some travel back.
Oh,
Yeah,
there
that's
you
right.
go.
You can go pretty much anywhere.
Oh, it's like a big deal. They're like a sovereign something.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I was actually from Texas. I moved to Texas when I was 5, and I denounced my northern roots, and it got really awkward. I defected.
Yeah.
So when we say what country, Texas.
Texas. Yeah.
There you go.
Was a country.
It was.
There you go.
Yeah.
A former
This-
country. Okay, real quick, you just have to predict the rest of the Notre Dame schedule just so we can see how
Oh,
good you're
wow.
feeling.
Wow. Well,
Win.
yeah. I mean, it's like no, I love try. I have a from 2012 when I was there as a student. I have a perfect season. Before we got slightly destroyed by Alabama.
Was that
Alabama.
Manti Te'o?
Yeah, that was Manti
Yeah.
Te'o. Yeah.
We named a grill after him that year. It's like
That's-
a cooking grill that you put coals in the bottom, and it has a weird name. And my friend says, "What'd you say? That's a Manti Te'o?" So
Wait,
Gets
but-
hot real fast and then kind of a slow burn, and then gets kind
And a
of
lot
cold.
of
Yeah.
some of the coals aren't actually there.
Yeah, nice.
If you haven't watched the Netflix documentary, he is much maligned for a situation that.
oh
For
yeah,
sure.
it ain't cool.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I mean, just thanks for making us all bring it back to feeling.
Yeah,
bad
no,
for
now I
next
feel
season.
guilty.
If you haven't watched Netflix lately, then
That's what you need. Yeah, less prayer time, more Netflix.
what you've been promoting.
That's what you're all about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm on the
Guys are
Catholic
known
school
for-
circuit, just promoting that as well. Yeah, exactly.
you got some downtime. I got a documentary. Do I
thi-
sound Italian?
Nailed it.
Yeah, very, very.
That
Southern
accent
Italian.
was spot on.
Yeah, I think football season. Put me down at 11-1. I think
Okay.
we have
Yeah.
a long stretch of some
That'll
easily overlookable games, and I think that we could lose one. USC is a big question mark this year, and
Yeah.
they
He looks
obviously
good.
did well
Yeah.
recently, and so we'll see. One of those will drop.
We have a guy who keeps track of everything that's ever been said or predicted on the show. And if you get your 11-1, we're going to give you 600 points for the year.
Ooh.
Wow.
If you don't, we're all going to split 300 points. 100 for each of us.
Nice.
Just no good for us. It's just like hitting
Oh.
zero. It's like offsetting penalties.
I'd be happy to help you out with your points.
Thanks, man. For being our celebrity guest judge of future points, you're just going to get some socks from Sock Religious.
Oh my goodness.
These are Socktoberfest. I know you don't have these.
Amazing. I do
Yeah.
not. I am wearing Sock Religious. Shout out the Catholic Concepts team. Wearing our Hallow socks.
Mm-hmm.
Which
We
I
don't
believe
have
are
those.
not-
We gave you
Now,
socks.
why
What have
do
you
you
given
have
us?
Hallow socks?
got
Oh, wait
the,
a second.
We're getting to that one.
Those are newly released. I think they're available on our website.
Are they really?
I think so. We just launched a swag site.
Okay, so this
And
wasn't
so-
like just a company party sock.
No, we launched them at. We did an in-person summit for our users for the first
that was just
slash
recently.
second time at Steubenville. Yeah, we had over 800 people, and we debuted the socks in Steubenville.
And to be clear, you are one of the co-founders of Hallow. And are you saying there's only 800 users?
That's right. yeah. There are 800 confirmed real non-bot users that showed up and verified their accounts in Steubenville a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Did you put that little picture of stairs in front of them and say, "Can you identify all the pictures with stairs?"
That's
You know what
right.
they
yeah,
did?
They had
Yeah.
to pass a test.
They
Yeah.
took 6 sheep and they put them in different positions in front of them and said, which one is correct?
That's the other test. That's
Yeah.
yep.
There was one goat. They had to identify the goat.
Yeah.
And separate
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
I love real life identification.
Yep.
I thought you were going somewhere of like find the lost one.
Oh, that sounds
Yeah.
more biblical.
No,
Yeah.
somebody actually did that though with Mark Zuckerberg. It was he was
Oh,
on a
nice.
podcast being interviewed, and the guy put one of those robot tests, a paper version
Oh,
of the
fun.
robot
Capture, yeah.
test, in
Yeah.
front of him and said, "Would you please identify all the fire hydrants?" Just want to be sure you're not a robot.
Fantastic.
I think it was Lex Friedman. Shout out.
Oh,
Lex
maybe.
Friedman
Yeah,
podcast.
maybe that was. Yeah.
Nice.
there you go.
So we're doing like, I don't know how to call this. It's like miniature power punch BeatiDudes episodes because you're in town for the Scent Summit 2024 here in North Texas. We have a lot of guests in town. It's actually been a pretty special day up here at Lucid Private Office, lucidprivateoffice.com.
One of these days, Jeff will say that correctly, and that'll probably be our last episode.
That's when they're going to stop sponsoring us.
That's it.
It's like a pity sponsor.
Until Jeff, we'll just keep supporting him.
Get it.
He finally got there, and yoink.
Yoink. So we're having this special day up here, but we captured you. I actually invited you to be on the show. You said yes. Then I invited you to come to the office, and you said no. And I was like, Alessandro.
I don't feel like that was what happened, but yeah.
He remembers it differently.
I said, you have to come to the office to be on the show. And here we are. So it worked. But I want people to know a little bit of the history. What led you in this arc from Notre Dame? I mean, you had a tough start to life. To now,
Depending on who you ask,
That's
a very Catholic institution to the opposite.
true.
So it's,
No,
you know,
I think it is what you make it. My niece went to the University of Texas in Austin and came out more Catholic than she entered. So I think we all have our own journeys, right?
Sure, yeah.
So I guess my question is, what did you do kind of college, post-college? I want people to understand that you didn't just wake up one day and have this prayer app.
Confirmed.
Yeah.
It did not come down from the heavens. Yeah, so I'll give you the punchy version for this, whatever you call it,
Sure.
the punchy episode, and then you can tell me what you want to
Yeah, we'll punch it up.
talk
Dive
about
into.
more.
Yeah.
Hallow does not exist because we sat down and tried to come up with a really good idea or business plan or something like that. It was a very unexpected result of our own kind of spiritual lives. So I'm one of 3 co-founders, broader founding team of 6, and we're just a bunch of friends that went to school together and then went into very different career paths. I went into finance. So as I mentioned,
Yes.
kind of the
Sorry.
the
That gets
real
you so
bedrock,
excited.
the real bedrock of modern society is capital markets.
Look at the smile on his face. Do you know what you just did for this man?
We're friends.
That's what he tells people.
We
Where did the
know.
BeatiDudes come from? Well, I started in finance.
It's the best, Jesus and capital markets. That's all you need. That's
I
all
said
you really
that
need.
nobody else at JP Morgan was cool with that, but yeah, we just missed each other.
I started a career at Goldman Sachs in New York, and I actually did get reprimanded to take down. I had to kind of, I should preface, I was not someone that was raised in Notre Dame onesies or anything like that. I didn't really want to go to the Midwest for college, and somewhat ended up there
You
accidentally.
started wearing the onesies in high school, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, it's prom. So I got reprimanded for. I had the picture of the Golden Dome with Mary like taped to the back of my desk, so like it was like in the office at Goldman in New York, and I had to take that down because it was religious imagery. Now my counter argument was that it's the main building; it's a secular academic building.
Yeah.
That did not fly. But anyway, so I was, like I said, born and raised Italian American Catholic, sometimes in that order, Italian and Catholic, but very culturally Catholic. Always gravitated more towards the intellectual side of the faith. So I took Aquinas as my confirmation saint.
Nice.
I was reading excerpts of the Summa in high school, and I felt like at that time, like whatever this is, like this is right, this is legit, and like it's definitely capital T true. And so always did well in theology and carried that into Notre Dame, but ultimately allowed kind of feeling like passing the test was like being a good Catholic, and like I could tell you all the rules, but I didn't really allow that to grow into a personal spirituality or life of discernment. And so although I was going to Mass on Sundays and volunteering and Eucharistic ministering, career and everything else was for me to kind of figure out on my own. And so that led to going to New York, working, very highfalutin job, well paid, working really hard, but didn't really have a lot of peace in life.
Yeah.
And so it was in the search for like a more manageable life that my then best friend, now co-founder Alex, was going through kind of a spiritual reversion experience. Not to tell his whole story, but the spark notes is born and raised Catholic, fell away in college, and afterwards got really into secular meditation, mindfulness, was getting married to an amazing Catholic woman, was having to go through pre-Cana, and asked himself, like, do I actually believe in God or not? And in the search for that answer, went back and forth on, watched Father Mike and Bishop Barron, and kind of got energized by the intellectual approach to the faith, but then, would watch Sam Harris, Richard Dawkins, like atheist critiques or whatever. And so he's bouncing back and forth, but he kept coming back to this idea that growing up, he was always told you could talk to this guy, meaning God. And if you can have a personal relationship with him, then he must be real. So why don't I just try and do that? But he didn't know how to have the conversation. And so he called the former rector of ours, Father Pete, who now runs campus ministry at Notre Dame, was our rector freshman and sophomore year, and dealt with some of our earlier behavioral misunderstandings. And
Behavioral misunderstanding.
That's a good way to,
Yeah.
nice PC way to say that, yeah.
yeah, he's like, yo, FP, quick question.
FP.
I like, we played basketball at 10 o'clock on the bookstore courts together and all this kind of stuff. So he's like, yo, FP, quick question. I like meditation, but I'm looking for something Catholic to see if God's real. Any chance we got something in between there that could like help me figure this out? And Father Pete just laughed out loud and said, well, I don't know how many classes you slept through while you were here, but we've been doing this for over 2,000 years. It's called prayer, and like you should like really know how to do that. And he said, great. Where do I get started? She said, well, if you look in the catechism, there's 3 expressions of prayer. One of them is meditation. But what you should do is you should start with what's called Lectio Divina, meditating on Scripture. So like go take a Bible off the shelf, Google it, and just do what it tells you to do. And so he did that. He go 4 steps to Lectio Divina, grabbed his now wife's Bible off the shelf, opens to a random page, grabs a paragraph. And it happened to be Matthew chapter 6, Sermon on the Mount, where the disciples ask, Lord, how should we pray? And disciples answer, or the Lord's answer, of course, is the Lord's Prayer. And the word that jumped out to meditate on was Hallow, from Hallowed Be Thy Name.
Yeah.
Had this deeply transcendent contemplative experience, broke down into tears, felt God's overwhelming presence in that moment, and had this deep desire enkindled to try and figure out like how to love him back. So he was a consultant at the time. He's like, I'm going to go break down this market, right? So like buys like 16 books on Amazon, St. Teresa of Avila, St. John of the Cross, Ignatian Spirituality, Benedictine Spirituality, Carmelite Spirituality, and just goes head first. Meanwhile, I'm like the Catholic friend that would host Sunday dinners every once in a while as the Italian of the group. And he shows up one Sunday and like with all these questions of like, how did you learn how to pray? When's the last time you learned a new way to pray? Do you know about this? Do you know about that? And I didn't know half the stuff he was talking about, despite
Because you didn't read 3 books that week.
despite 16 years
You were
of Catholic
Italian.
school,
Yeah.
I didn't know half. You know, and he's like with the exam and Lectio Divina, all these things. Like the Rosary, I knew, thanks to my amazing Catholic grandmother and Catholic school. But I didn't know the rest of the stuff. And he's like, you really got to try this out. And it was in kind of discovering prayer way after I discovered theology that kind of changed my heart. And so we had all these experiences in our own lives, finding our way back to God. And then over the course of a couple months of learning all this stuff, buying all these books, we're like, wouldn't it be awesome if instead of having all these books in the corner of the room, we could be guided in the same audio guided way that all these secular meditation apps do, but for prayer. Took it to discernment and got a pretty clear call to like go help the world pray. And walked in one day and quit our jobs.
What year is this?
2018.
So that's not even that long ago.
Yeah, wow.
Coming up on 6 years. Yeah, so the first conversation we had about Lectio Divina was like first couple months of 2018 with Father Pete in the phone call. By the summer, we had kind of like figured out prayer in our own lives and built a super simple version just for ourselves as like a repository as we were reading all these books. By the fall, we quit our jobs, and by December, we were in the App Store.
Wow.
Fun reflection and then a follow-up question. The reflection is I've never seen you and Alex in the same place, so I'm really struggling to understand.
That's
this.
a
Is that-
strategy of like, if the plane goes down, only one of them's down.
We're good, yeah.
This is the week. Eric, our third co-editor, Eric and I are all, or Alex and I are all here this
oh my
week.
goodness.
So
And
Sent Summit.
shout out John Cannon.
Good thing we're releasing this episode later.
Yeah.
So nobody will know after.
Yeah, right. You can't get them.
Yeah.
There's a big part between 2018 and whatever we're in 2024. What is the magnitude right now? And I know numbers are not necessarily like the reason for this, but what is the magnitude of the reach of Hallow right now?
Yeah, so we intentionally call these vanity metrics, but
Well, that's what I'm trying to say. So I think you nailed it.
yeah. So what the numbers are is I think last month we hit 20 million downloads since inception. The app's been used to pray over 600 million times across 150 countries. The app is available in 8 languages, and we have over 170 people working full or part-time across 10 countries. Which is just
So you got more people to pray.
massive.
You got more people. You're saying more people are praying.
Yeah.
Because obviously something like that, it would have been worth it if even just a handful of people had started to like really take a deeper dive into prayer. But just the blessing of abundance that's happened with that's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, people. I mean this really genuinely. People ask us like, what's your roadmap, and where do you want Hallow to be in 5 or 10 years? And like we do quarterly business planning, and like you have to be prudent with the resources you've been given, but we don't think about it in that way at all. Early on there was 2 really prominent examples of our friends and family who started using this thing we were working on the weekends or late nights, and had really pivotal experiences in prayer in their lives and dealing with loss, grief, and discernment. And we always talked, and we still talk about, if we could spend the rest of our lives to help one more person grow closer to Christ. We had this absolutely incredible user reach out to us on customer support like a month and a half ago and said, hey, I just want to let you know you saved my life. Like customer support live chat. And you're like,
Amen.
what?
Yeah.
So Alex was like, hey, can we talk? Like, I'd love to know more about what that means. A young woman in her, I think now early 20s, said, or no, she's 19, 20-ish, because she was 14, 15. She had become a nihilistic atheist, in her own words. Felt like life was meaningless, was preparing to take her life. She did not want to live anymore, didn't see any point to it. Made herself a bubble bath because she, in her own words, described wanting to have a pretty death. Sat down in the tub and said, all right, like, God, my mom always told you about me. Like, I'm going to give you one last shot. Like, if you want me to know you're there, now's the time. And she pulled up this app that her mom had made her download like a couple years before, and pulled up the first thing that popped up. Played on a session. It was on the Passion of Christ, and it was a reflection on how Christ bled out on the cross so that we didn't have to suffer death, so that he could overcome death for us. Got up out of the tub, has dedicated the rest of her life to Christ and is now a missionary across the world. And if, we spend the next 20 years working for one more person like that, I mean, that's what it's about for us, at least.
Well, I just got chills.
And tears.
Yeah.
No joke. I'm looking at Nick like, okay.
Yeah, because it's incredible. I mean, teenage years in general are tough.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like they've only gotten tougher
Right.
in so many ways. But then for you guys to use the same technology that a lot of times is a discouragement
Culprit.
for teens. Yeah,
Yeah,
right? Like
culprit.
a
Yeah.
cause of the problem, right? It makes me think of who did we have on here talking about the anxious generation, right? Where
Jonathan Haidt's book.
Yeah, Jonathan
Yeah.
Haidt's book.
Mhm.
Yeah, where just how much social media and all of these different apps can lead people to feel like they're alone, even though they're supposed to be socially connecting us, right? But then you guys put this app out there, and it does the opposite. I mean, it's amazing that God's reaching people where a lot of times the despair and the hope. I mean,
And you
Yeah.
have to go play there. You can't not go there.
Right.
Because that's where you're going to find the people who need it.
yeah,
So-
because they're already there. So
Yeah.
yeah, you're reaching.
Yeah.
That's. I'm just thinking out loud because that
Yeah.
just blew me away. That's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, one of the great blessings I've had on the team over the past couple of years, I've kind of led our expansion into serving Catholic education. And so we built this program for schools, grade schools and high schools, really in response to getting a lot of questions from teachers and parents, like, hey, can I use it in my classroom with my kids? And just getting all these emails, we started just going to conferences and listening and read all of Haidt's early work. And it struck us that these two big questions that we were struggling with, like, is God real? And if so, like, how do I get to know him, and how do I find real peace in the world?
Yep.
The peace the world cannot bring. That was like our journeys, right? Mine, Alex, Eric's, the rest of the team. And that's exactly what kids are going through in a really unique way. And so, we're now in over 500 schools across the country, built this program around how do you create a culture of prayer as the central aspect of your school? Like, if you want to, build an ecosystem where you're creating future saints, like, what does that start with? And our belief is that the fundamental experience of catechesis that can actually last a lifetime of discipleship is like personal relationship with God.
Yeah.
Like, if you know, and this was my version of the story, like, if you know a lot about him, but you don't know him, you're going to end up believing the lies of the snake oil of the world, saying, you need more friends, you need more likes, you need filling a growing God-shaped size hole in your heart with the wrong things. And so we see that a lot, especially with young people. And it's, we were in your office earlier, and I think you had a humanality hat in there or something.
Yeah.
It's like we talk with those guys a lot. It's not just about what you unplug from, but it's what you plug back into.
That's
right.
And that's actually who brought it up to us, is when we had, what's his name on here?
Laubacher?
Hey,
Yeah.
Rob.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Very
it's
cool.
coming full circle now with the hat.
There you go. Shout out the hat.
That's incredible.
When I think about Hallow, there's some things that people, well, I guess let me ask you this. What are the things that is the most common that you hear or you see in the stats that people are using it for? But my follow-up question would be, what are some things that maybe we don't know on the surface that people are using it for? Like, what is the other stuff that's either hidden or niched? I mean, there's parts of it that I've never even clicked on. So,
Yeah.
like, what's the most common? So people listening that haven't got in there, which, where are you? You're listening to BeatiDudes. Certainly by now you've been on Hallow, or else this is the day. And then what's like the layers that are below that maybe some of us don't think about?
The team at Aquinas Wealth Advisors believes that good values and good returns are not mutually exclusive. Using a tech-smart and morally sound approach, they provide investment alternatives that align with Catholic teachings without sacrificing returns. These days, faith-driven investors are finding it hard to know where their money is going. They have no visibility into what their dollars are supporting, but there's a better way. Thanks to the Faith and Finance Score from Aquinas Wealth Advisors, you can look into your current holdings to see what you're supporting and make a switch to an advisor that aligns with your values and gives power to your voice. Check out AquinasWealth.com today.
Hey BeatiDudes, it's Jeff here. When Nick and I set out and we started this company, Undivided Life, we decided to not use traditional healthcare, but we went with Solidarity HealthShare because we thought it was an affordable and ethical alternative that matched the needs of our business and our growing families. Since then, my family put Solidarity to the test. We've had pregnancies, babies, emergency room visits, even a brain surgery for one of my children. And Solidarity has been an incredible partner and has also had the cost and the ethical approach that we love. Here's a link for you to go check it out. learnmore.solidarityhealthshare.org/BeatiDudes. This is your chance to be in solidarity with the Shufflebind family.
Hi, it's Paul Kolker from the BeatiDudes here, and I just wanted to share with you guys that I also, outside of the show, perform improv comedy on a regular basis with a group called Divine Comedy. So what we do is we come up with everything on the spot, so whether you're looking for faith-filled, fun, family-friendly comedy for your youth night, or whether you're looking for clean comedy for your corporate event, Divine Comedy can perform for your group and even get you in on the action. So if you'd like to hire us to come out and perform for your next event, check out DivineComedyImprov.com. Divine Comedy, an inferno of fun.
Yeah, so there's over 30,000 things in the app now, and so even I have not used everything so far.
Only 30,000.
There you go. It's, yeah,
Start
so
small.
There's stuff that actually raises a different problem of like you got to start somewhere. But yeah, and I should say maybe at the beginning, no one needs an app to pray. Right?
Yes.
Like in the same way that you don't need a personal trainer or a gym membership to stay physically fit. You know, it can often, though, be helpful to have those things to get started or to learn
it's
new
a
things.
tool.
Yeah, it's a tool, but it's not the thing itself. And I should also say the pinnacle of your prayer life is never going to be with Hallow. That happens at the altar, right? And so we're very focused on trying to bring people back into sacramental life.
It's awesome.
But to answer your question, it's funny. People, you know, the basics are often where people start and where they end up, and then there's like a lot of stuff in the middle. So our most popular things are some of your classic, you know, daily bread and butter type prayers. So the daily rosary, reflections on the daily gospel. We have Jonathan Rumi, who plays Jesus in The Chosen, reads the gospel, and then Jeff Cavins, amazing scripture scholar, reflects on them. That's up there. Lectio Divina on the daily gospel, the Divine Mercy Chaplet, kind of your core daily prayers. On top of that, I think I just listened to the Father Dave Pavanka BeatiDudes episode. So he does a daily Holy Spirit moment, so I'll give him a shout out.
Love it.
I would say up there as well, the other two things are seasonal community challenges. So at any given point, we have like one thing that the whole community goes through. We just finished our series of Saints in 7 Days.
That's right.
Series. And so we did Maximilian Kolbe, who we have here with us.
Yeah, and that was cool because it was like on his feast day or finished on his feast day.
Yep, exactly. So every September we do 4 new saints. We spend a week going through their life. So that category also has like our Pray 40 Lenten Challenge, our Pray 25 Advent stuff. So the seasonal stuff. And the last one is music. And I would say maybe that was a more surprise win. We experimented with some music, but we have everything from traditional Gregorian chant, mixed chant, the whole way through to contemporary worship, the hillbilly Thomists, Matt Maher type stuff.
Dubstep.
And so kind of creating we have Catholic lo-fi. We have, I think we just added Christian hip-hop.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. Cool.
When we start a road trip, we put on that lo-fi, and my wife turns on Hallow, and it's so funny because I got to give you a lot of credit. We're like, you can't have iPads outside of road trips. And the 10-year-old will say, Dad, please let me have my iPad. I'd like to go up and listen to Hallow. And I'm like, fine.
You found the loophole.
Yeah.
The infinite loophole.
Brilliant. Yeah. So she listens. I don't know what she's doing, but she's listening. No, she loves everything about it.
Yeah, so I would say those are the most popular. The dailies, the seasonal, and then the music. The surprise stuff, we have these, and you know, there's so much stuff in the app that it can sometimes be tough to get started or find stuff. But
it's like playing The Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
Where am I going?
Find your path. I would throw out maybe some of my personal favorites that may not be the most obvious things that you can get in there. So we have some of the words of the actual saints. So like saints that were living in post-recorded times. And so you can listen to Padre Pio, Mother Teresa, John Paul II, Fulton Sheen's in there. And so you can Google those or search within Hallow those. The Litany of Humility, for me, is the hardest thing in the app and the one I try and go back to somewhat frequently to really stay focused, particularly in this world where, again, the vanity metrics are, it's easy to turn to God when everything is going downhill, but staying focused uphill is really important to me. And then the pray lists, so, playlists of prayer. they're topic or thematically focused. They used to be a little more central, and now you kind of got to find them a little bit. But the virtues, things like forgiveness, love, like if you have something that you're focused on trying to building, whether it's a virtue or something you're trying to overcome, just search in the theme. And then we have a lot of different ways of praying about a specific theme.
That's awesome.
And so, yeah. That
Do you
can
have
be helpful.
any gaming baked in, like call it the playground or?
I like that.
Okay.
I'm gonna potentially take that. We have daily trivia. So we have 5 questions every day. That was another one of those experimental things we put out there that ended up becoming pretty popular.
Oh, cool.
We're considering expanding into more game-related things.
Oh, nice.
There's a little bit of, obviously we want to be focused on not over gamifying faith, right? There's a danger there.
You're
But
the leading Catholic today.
it's like, you have
Top the
achieved
leaderboard.
salvation. It's like,
But just for today.
yeah, you are now a saint.
See you next week when it resets to 0 points.
Yeah. So but yeah, trivia has been pretty popular, and
That's
then
fun.
we'll
Sure.
tie it. It's thematic for the day or whatever, and
Yeah.
we'll recommend content as
That's
a
cool.
part of that. Yeah.
No, but that's great because that's community building as well, right? Like, I mean, I'm sure. Can you chat in any way or like comment
Share it.
on?
I bet people in their family group text, I could see that being a.
So it's one of the more shareable pieces
There
of
you go.
content and shared content. I'm curious, are there any game types that immediately come to mind as something you would like to see from Hallow?
Oh, that's a great
Live
question.
idea.
live
ideation.
consumer feedback.
Well, it's funny. I was going to throw a brainstorm back at this group after. So let's start with this. What are some gaming concepts? And I'm pretty terrible at this because I knew that I had an addictive personality for gaming, so I won't touch it. But I don't think it makes any sense to like the games I can even think of are so
Right,
stupid.
right.
But like the gamification concepts, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's ways, like, I mean, some of it's just trivia based, but different formats, right? Like you could have matching type stuff, right, where it's almost like cards flipping over and you select the pairs. I mean, some of it I'm thinking is based off of stuff I've done with language learning apps and stuff like that, right? But you're just
Take like a Duolingo and
in a way, right? Like you're pairing up just this saint
because they're
did
always
this,
like
or
noted as like top of like gamification
Yep.
and like users coming back every day and really kind of maximizing.
We know their
the-
team really well. We have a shared
Yeah.
investor, and
Oh.
they're really great at that stuff.
Makes sense.
that's incredible. Yeah. I mean, that kind of thing, and I mean, just even if I don't know if there's those one like a progress bar type things, not for salvation, but in terms of how many days in a row you've checked in. I don't know.
And setting your own goals for that too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. I think I know that is probably the thing that gets me most addicted on any app.
Yeah. How many steps have you taken today on your pathway to heaven?
Yes, there you go, a fitness
step
app.
counter.
And then if you
right.
you put in like some of the things that pull you away, it's like steps backwards. Like you get negative steps for your judgmental attitude.
There you go.
Your
Yeah.
inability to forgive.
The phone was listening to you when you were gossiping. You've just lost 2 points, which is kind of a scary.
Yeah, right. That actually sounds dystopian and horrifying.
Do a Covenant Eyes integration.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, you
That'd be
could
a big step back. Yeah.
Your whole family sees you just dropped by 20 points because you went to a site you weren't supposed to be on.
Woo! How's everybody doing out there?
You know what? This is the brainstorm. I was talking to a group, a Catholic group, and I was trying to make them think in an audacious manner. Like, let's go so far beyond reality. And I'm taking one from improv here. Nobody can say that's not possible or that wouldn't work or don't tell me any reasons. All you can say is yes, and here's what we would do or here's why. And so I was just sitting there, and in this moment, I said, guys, time out. And I made this up. I said, 7 years ago, somebody sat in a room and said, why don't we put a prayer app in a Super Bowl ad? And everybody else was like, that will never work. Why would you spend? How could you? Nobody wants to see that. Like, that concept is mind-blowingly dumb until it's not, And so then it's like, what are those ways that any of us should be thinking in a way that is truly like the maximization of multiplication? Like, how do we do what God's calling us to do, is to the biggest? First question is, that Super Bowl ad, you glad you did it?
Yes.
Yeah, and the results of it were pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah, I mean, certainly I'm also CFO, and so big price tag.
How many commas?
How much for 30 seconds?
I've never put a second comma here or here.
Yeah,
Zeros don't go before?
Yeah, it's like I'm on that. I'm more familiar with the other side of the decimal point.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was so a couple things about that. We ended up being really, really blessed, and I could tell a little bit about kind of how that went or whatever. But the main reason why we did it was it's really only every 12 or 13 years that Super Bowl Sunday immediately precedes Ash Wednesday. And it was really the opportunity to invite people to prioritize prayer starting on Ash Wednesday, that next Wednesday. And it kicked off a great week of a bunch of PR stuff we did. But by the end of that week, we were the first religious or wellness app ever to reach #1 on the App Store across all apps. So we were above TikTok, Netflix, Google. Like, it was absolutely insane, and all praise be to God for that. But it was certainly nerve-wracking. And, when you start interacting with, big networks and, doesn't get much bigger than the NFL and things, you're trying to create an invitation that is accessible, right? But also invites people to something sacred and different. Yes. And so, there's a lot of greats that we need to rely on. The last thing I would say on that is, we did a bunch of ROI analysis. We tested TV as a channel. We can talk about all that. But we also, prayed a lot about it. And something we do at Hallow is and I'm sure you all do in your own lives, but we actually take these decisions to prayer. And there was nothing so nerve-wracking when we got started as the three of us, okay, we're going to each pray about this and talk about what we received in prayer. And, I was a finance guy. The two guys were, big three consulting guys. We're well, what happens when I come out of the room and well, God told me this. We're no, God told me that.
I talked to God longer.
Yeah. We have, it was absolutely nerve-wracking.
Yes.
But we don't always hear clear answers in prayer, right?
Yeah.
That's not how prayer works. It's not a magic 8-ball. But whenever we have received direction in prayer, and more than one of us have, there's never been any conflict. And things don't always go exactly how we think, or we're not going to receive, the types of graces that we expect. But I would encourage, if you're out there and, whatever, your family, your professional life, you're running a business, not just the little things and not just the big things, but both and everything in between. We legitimately, what lease to sign, take these things to prayer, and the Super Bowl ad was no exception. And although it was nerve-wracking from a dollars perspective, we're very much at peace with the decision, in part because we discerned it.
If it hadn't been for that discernment, I would encourage you from a worldly perspective to take a picture of you on the sideline at the Super Bowl and send it to your old boss at Goldman Sachs and say, how's this for a picture of the Notre Dame academic building? or sorry about my picture.
Or, pray the litany of humility again.
That's what I'm getting at. Thank God you're well-formed so that we don't have to do those things.
It's actually pretty hysterical. So I worked at another investing company after Goldman, and I ran into the partner that I quit to on the plane to Vegas for the Super Bowl.
Oh, no way. That's a cool moment.
From the investment firm?
Yeah. And he looked up, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Because I was blessed to be able to be out there in person, which was somewhat anticlimactic for the actual ad running. I didn't get to see the ad, but
you're on a field.
You're in the stadium, not watching the commercials.
Your phone's blowing up after that, and you're like,
"Well, I was sitting next to a guy. And I was constantly refreshing my phone. He was like, "Dude, you are at the game. What could possibly be more important? You're on your phone the whole time."
Yeah.
Well, I'm just waiting.
I'm getting a lot of impressions out there.
Yeah. You're I'm heavily invested in what's going on.
We're gonna see how that converts through the funnel, right?
What do you call that thing where it's like the football thing? It's the squares. You buy squares,
Yeah.
His square was 16 zeros.
Right.
And a number before that.
Yeah.
That's not really how much it was.
No,
I know.
That's a lot.
I'm making you feel better about what you actually spent.
Exactly. Anchor high. Yeah, there you go. I like that.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so then what I thought would be a cool way for us to bless you, which sounds so stupid. I want us to brainstorm what's bigger than Hallow on the Super Bowl.
I can't wait for you to tell me.
Well, and you can contribute to this in the spirit of yes and I thought that perhaps when Elon makes his conversion, we go ahead and broadcast it from the moon. And I mean loud enough for people to hear a couple of years later here. Yes.
Got it.
Yeah, after we get those 2 stranded astronauts back down.
Yeah, priority
you're
1.
Such a downer. You're a Debbie Downer.
I'm sorry. I was adding.
Totally possible.
There's a step 1.
Yeah.
No, I mean, think really big. I'll give you another example of this. We're about to have Jamie Baxter from Exodus 90 come down here. They have a Formula One car for Exodus 90. That also makes no sense, right? we're going to be doing this prayer and asceticism and fraternity, and we're going to get a NASCAR or a Formula One car. But then you see it and you're like, this is incredible.
So space flight fueled by Hallow, right? So it's like prayer is out of this world.
Yeah, here we go.
I like that. I like that.
So
what else can we? It's orbital. What else? So it's celestial for sure.
yeah, celestial.
Yeah. That's celestial.
And you could do BrewWorks combination. You guys could team up.
That's right. We got a brewery for you.
Yeah.
I think another thing you could do bigger than the Super Bowl is something with the BeatiDudes.
I mean, yeah, just
I think that's why I'm here. I'm here to lay the groundwork for.
This might actually be it.
Forget the brainstorming. It's happening. We're gonna look back and this was the inflection point. Yeah.
Inflections go both ways.
but I think you can team up maybe with Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga and do the download Hallow, hallow.
Oh, look at that! There you go.
Just
Shout out A Star Is Born.
Right.
That's my duet karaoke song.
Oh, is it really?
Go to.
There you go.
I had no idea.
Who do you duet with?
That's a good question.
Paul?
Whoever's there.
Whoever's there.
Yeah, whoever's there.
I could go falsetto. I could take the high
Lady
note.
Paul.
There you go.
Please,
That's dangerous.
never call me that again. And now
That's
I will
dangerous.
get multiple texts from people calling me
Oh,
that.
when we go to mass or anything we all go to the same parish, people walk by and say the craziest things to Paul, and it's not his fault. It's my fault.
It's all Jeff. Thank you for that one.
You're welcome. Man, we're just grateful to have you here. This has been a year and a half in the making. We started this whole thing just so that we could interview you.
Well,
It was the long con of long
there's
cons.
a lot of confessions these weeks, so I'm sure you can find one that works because I'm sure that's not true. But I do. I am for the record. I think I did come to the city twice over the last year and a half, and did text you each time I was coming, but the dates didn't work out. But I'm very excited.
Truth
to be
is, the dates did work, but I like to make really great people wait.
That's
Fair,
not
that's good.
true.
That is
Do
good.
not. You do
That's good.
I'm like, this guy's a hero of mine. We're busy.
Doesn't work.
Maybe
Can't.
next time.
Yeah, there's somebody from the third pew of our home parish that we're going to be interviewing instead.
From the 10 a.m. mass. I think.
Absolutely.
That might actually be accurate.
There you go.
All right, my friend. Last kind of wrap up here is if somebody has not experienced Hallow before, and or maybe it's been a while, what is your encouragement, or what is an entry point? What is a way that we could, even something for us to pray for anybody who's listening that maybe is on a journey that we could encourage, build that fertile soil for them to get back in whichever way is great. But if the Hallow could be their pathway, what would you encourage people to do, or how would they get started?
Yeah, I would say no matter what you're going through, no matter whether it's feeling like you're in a really great place or you're in a really struggling, God wants to go through that with you, right? And so there's nothing too big, there's nothing too small. And what I would encourage you to do, whether you're a morning person, night person, middle of the day, like whatever feels natural to you. I think one of the things we've learned is that when you're trying to start a new habit, whether it's aspirational or you're really trying to go in a different direction, like baby steps, right?
Mm-hmm.
Start with something that feels natural, whether it's 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you got, in a time of day that works well for you. I tend to be a morning person. Just give them 5 minutes, give them 10 minutes. And I would probably suggest one of two things to get started, right? Lectio Divina was really powerful in our journey. I think, and just you have it built in. It's the daily gospel. You pick it up every day, even if you're not in a place where you're going to daily mass or something like that. Just ask the Lord, what do you want me to know from this? That's been hugely impactful on my life and still something I try and do as many days as possible. And if you do that for 30 days, 10 minutes a day reflecting on the daily gospel, and your life's not different, then call me. I'll send you a case of wine. But I doubt
money
that's-
back.
Yeah, exactly. Money
Good
back
Italian
guarantee.
wine. None of
Money
this
back
Napa Valley
guarantee.
stuff.
The second thing I would consider, and part of the hard part about answering that question is what would you get started with, is we all communicate differently with each other in different contexts and different times, in the same way that we're talking differently than we do now, than we do at family dinners, than we do, on Call of Duty, Xbox Live, whatever. Not everything works all the time for all the people, right? So I'll give you one other thing that has been helpful for me. The Examen. So if you're familiar with the Jesuits or Ignatian spirituality, you'll know what the Examen is. But it's basically sitting down at the end of the day and reflecting on your day like a movie in your mind, looking for moments of what the Jesuits would call consolation and desolation. Basically looking for God or the absence of God in your life. And I think what's cool about the Examen is the more you start looking for God in your day, even if you don't notice him in the moment, the more you'll find him because he's there. And it kind of is a way of training the muscle in your soul of recognizing God's presence by looking backwards. And then you get to a little bit better job of feeling him kind of in the moment, kind of on that next day and the next day and the next day.
Building that muscle in your soul. I like that.
There you go. So Lectio and the Examine are maybe some places to get started.
That's, solid stuff.
One last thing, we sent you a note, my wife and I did. She sent it to me, and then I turned and I sent it to you. When my son was being wheeled back for his brain surgery that we were surprised with, he turns the corner, he's now sedated, and I look at her, and I'm like, you're doing a really good job keeping it together. And she said, it's because I'm going through the He Leadeth Me journey on Hallow just last Lent. And she was like, had it not been for my walk in listening to those and catching up while we were waiting between diagnosis and surgery, she goes, I don't know that I would have had this clarity. And I'm like, babe, this is beautiful. And so she was able to witness to so many people and not be in despair, but it was because of her relationship with Christ and her mimicking, great men and women and saints in that process. So you've blessed everybody at this table and everybody that I know who's ever touched this app. And this year specifically, you've blessed my family. So thank you for the work y'all are doing.
It's an honor, a pleasure, and honestly, praise be to God. We say there's 3 co-founders of Hallow, and none of them are us. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and to them be the glory.
Yeah, and then we put our face all over our own logo. So I guess we have
opportunity for growth.
Maybe we'll start that litany of humility.
What was that? Yeah.
Alessandro, you're a blessing. If you don't know how to find Hallow, then I don't know how you found this podcast.
If you're here, you can find Hallow.
I'll just give it's Hallow. We get a lot of people that are spelling challenged, which I'm one of them. Put Hallo. That's Halo.
Yeah.
That is not the name of the app. There you go. That's
Yeah.
Space warfare.
Or what saints have. You went straight to Xbox.
You went modern warfare.
Yeah. You use one enough,
warfare.
hopefully you get the other. But
That's right. That's
there
right.
you go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is our one-shot power punch visit with Alessandro, co-founder of Hallow. You're going to come back for your follow-up show 3 times from now when you're back in town.
From space.
Yes. That's the deal. We're doing BeatiDudes in space to promote Hallow.
Put a halo around the moon, branded.
It.
We're going to brand the moon.
Because they wear those spacesuits.
Yes.
Can't wait to see what the check size on that is.
You can do it. All right. We will see all of you in the prayer apps of Hallow. For the rest of you, we will.
See you in the Eucharist.
God bless.
Well, you drive down the highway, you're riding a horse at the office doing accounting, or making coffee, or shoveling dirt, or maybe you're sick at home. Turn on the BeatiDudes, the BeatiDudes.
Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to join us at our undersized table, subscribe to the video version of the show on YouTube by typing @ that's the symbol @, so shift and 2 on your keyboard, @the_BeatiDudes on YouTube. We'll see you there.